Okay, we're here today with Frank and Frank's third lesson. Some of the things we've been working on his third lesson today are going to be more setup issues and not as many swing thoughts today. We've been trying to build a good solid foundation for Frank, and we do that by the way we stand to the golf ball and part of our setup. So when we started out today, the first thing we talked about is standing with our feet about shoulder width apart. Frank's doing a very good job with that. Secondly, we talked about how much knee bend we need to get. And a person only needs to bend their knees just by unlocking them. Once the knees are unlocked, that usually gives us enough knee bend. We don't have to squat down from there. Thirdly, what we talked about is getting our hands basically hanging right below our chin. We stood straight up and we bent straight over at the waist until our hands were hanging right below our chin. Now what's important with this is that this is with all clubs, whether it's our wedge, which is our shortest club, or our driver, which is our longest. Our hands are hanging down below us the same amount. As the club gets longer, the ball may end up further away from us, but that's not something we need to adjust. We set up the same way so that we can swing the same way each time. From those setup issues, the next things we started to address was ball position. And as you can see right now, Frank's got his driver in his hands today. We talked about, because the driver being so long, it's the longest club in the bag, moving that ball towards the front of his body or the front of his stance. You'll see that it's all the way up there towards his front toe. You can also hopefully note that club that's laying on the ground. So when Frank's hitting his driver, his club should be right next to that foot, that front foot. But as he switches to his irons, we're going to move that ball position back to the middle of our stance. So that when you have an iron in your hands, the ball's right in the middle of your feet, the shaft's pointed at your belly button. And when you've got that wood in your hands, you're moving it further forward in your stance and giving yourself a little more time to get that club face square. The third things we started working with Frank today were going to be a couple of swing issues. One of the first things we talked about was getting him set up so that when he's over the ball, there's the same amount of weight on each foot. Originally, when Frank was getting set up today to start out, he was putting all of his weight on his back foot and leaving it there through the swing. Whereas now we set up so it's over both feet. On his back swing, it does move to the back foot, and then we are working towards moving it to his front foot. He did a pretty good job there, you can see on that swing, because he has started to turn his body to the target. And that does have to do with moving that weight to the front foot. When we are done, our belly button, our nose, and our hips should be facing the target we're trying to hit to, as opposed to sometimes if he doesn't finish, we can still see that belt buckle here in the video. If you were to go back, you can note some of those times you'll see his body facing us. Other times he is getting that body turned properly to the target. Frank's doing a great job. I know he's been working a little bit, and if he continues to work, he's going to keep improving.